Entitled mom wants to know why I got to board before her. A little bit of context before I get to the bones of the story. I 21F have never flown by myself before. I was super nervous about it. So I tried to avoid every possible roadblock before I even got to the airport. Last Monday my flight that I originally was scheduled for was cancelled due to bad weather. Luckily I was rescheduled. So my flight went from 11:30 p.m. on Monday to 8:30 a.m. Tuesday. I wasn't super stoked to be up that early. But I was still glad that I was going home for fall break. I got though TSA okay. And made it across the airport to my gate. The people at the gate looked a little grumpy. But I just chalked it up to the flight being cancelled the night before. I paid to choose my own seat and for priority boarding. So I could get on the plane and be done with it. I was also worried about possibly needing a seatbelt extender. So I wanted to spare myself any additional embarrassment and get it over with. I ended up not needing it. The gate agent announced that at 7:45 the boarding process would begin. Those who need assistance first. Then military. And then priority boarding. A woman with her mother in a wheelchair boarded. Then a nice old man in a walker and his wife. And finally the entitled mom and her kids. Entitled mom had 4 teenage daughters with her. And one of them was in a wheelchair. All 5 of them walked up to the gate agent to board. And the following conversation ensued. We are ready to pre-board. My daughter is in a wheelchair. GA. Alright ma'am. Can I see your boarding passes? And then her kids all show their phones to the gate agent. And he scans them. GA. Okay ma'am. It looks like girl is the only one approved for pre-boarding. But I can let one of you board with her if she needs assistance. Girl. I can board on my own. I don't need help. Don't be silly. She needs us to help her. She can't get seated by herself. She's disabled. Right girls? And her other 3 daughters agree amongst themselves. While the girl tries to sink into her chair. Who will help her if we aren't on the plane? She can't get on herself. You have to let all of us board with her. Girl. I can get in myself. I don't need help. GA. Well ma'am. If she says she can board herself. Then she can board herself. I'm sure a flight attendant can help her get seated. If she needs it. She needs us to help her. She can't do it herself. Why can't you peeping get that? Girl. I am 17. I can get on the plane myself mom. GA. Ma'am she's insistent that she can seat herself. So I'll have a flight attendant come assist her on the ramp. And you can wait until your group is called. Even if she did want your assistance. I'm sure all 4 of you don't have to help her. The gate agent called a flight attendant. Who helped the girl board. He then called for priority boarding. So I stood up. Grabbed my bags. And showed the gate agent my boarding pass. Why does she get to board? She isn't disabled. This is bullspeep. I felt my face get hot. And I started to get nervous. GA. She paid for priority boarding. Therefore she gets to board before everyone else. That makes no sense. I don't get to pre-board with my daughter. But she gets to board before everyone else? GA. Ma'am. We have a belligerent passenger policy. And if I deem you a threat, you don't have to fly. That shut her up. And I boarded as fast as I could. Walking on the plane. I saw the girl sitting in the front row. Quietly reading a book and listening to music. If that's how that lady acted then. I don't want to know how she acts the rest of the time. She probably was embarrassed. And I felt bad for her. I got to my seat at the middle of the plane. And towards the end of the boarding I saw why the entitled mom and her daughters wanted to board with the girl. They were a part of the last boarding group. All the way at the back of the plane. My flight went well. And I had a good time at home with my family. I hope entitled mom and her family had a good trip too. Even if she was an entitled jerk. Good for that airline employee. That needs to become standard operating procedure in every public-facing job ever. Literally. He wasn't letting her get one over him. And you could definitely tell from the fit she was having that the "we all need to help her" thing usually worked. Not this time though. But my daughter's in a wheelchair. That means she isn't competent to make her own decisions or able to speak. Why are you listening to her? I'm the one shouting. That means she needs me and her 3 sisters to board her. Karen screech. My parents and myself just flew for the first time in years. It was assigned seating and they boarded us front to back. It was kinda important since the plane we were flying on was small despite flying halfway across the country. So those of us with carry-on bags that would fit in a bigger plane didn't fit, so we had to check them at the gate for free. There was room for people to stow the bags up to boarding group 6, but 7 and 8 had to check them at the gate. Girlfriend's brother thinks he can drive my car, even though he has his own. So this weekend was my girlfriend's birthday. I posted a separate story in our /stupid. But her brother is an entitled asshole. Meet the cast. EB. My GF's entitled brother. Me. GD. Girlfriend's dad. So. It's Sunday. We had just woken up and I had planned to make a quick trip to Bass Pro Shops to pick up my GF's birthday present. I got up. Went into the kitchen to start my morning cup of coffee. I saw my GF's brother sitting at the table on his laptop, typing away. I started the coffee machine and went back into the room my GF and I were sharing to shower and change clothes. I had finished taking a shower when I heard footsteps outside the bedroom door. I thought nothing of it until I heard my car start up. I drive a 2003 Honda Element, and that engine has a distinct sound when it starts. I quickly put on some clothes and ran out to the driveway. I come outside to see my GF's brother in the driver's seat, trying to shift. Me. EB. Why are you in my car? EB. I just wanted to test drive it. I thought you wouldn't mind it. Me. You have no right to get in my car without permission. EB. It's only fair. Because you're staying in my house. Me. Technically. It's your dad's house. He's the person who legally owns it. EB. Whatever. Now. How do you shift into reverse in this thing? Me. I'm not telling you that information. EB. Well then I'm not getting out of the car. GD. EB. Step out of Op's car. EB. Yes. Sir. EB quickly got out of my car as his dad came outside. My GF's dad is a military man and doesn't take anyone's bulls. He can be quite scary at times. There's the story of how my GF's entitled brother tried to drive off in my car. I did still go to Bass Pro to pick up my GF's birthday present. She loved it. I had gotten her a brand new heavy action fishing rod. For pike, muskie, and catfish. I hope you all enjoyed this story. Wondering how EB managed to grow up entitled with a scary dad. My uncle was a colonel major in the army, and even though he was a lovely man to me and my sisters, he was strict with his kids. The dad was in the military, so he probably wasn't around as much. Kinda like in the movie Amityville Horror. The family is told to get out when they enter the house, but they ignore it. But when Super Dad says get out, his kid beelines out of there. Lamau, my brother, took me to see that movie when it first came into theaters. I made it as far as the flies on the windows and the demonic voice screaming get out. I yelped, yes sir, and ran out of the theater. Entitled bitch throws a temper tantrum over blinds. So I work in retail. And today one employee ended up not showing up, so we were only 2 people on shift. Me, who was at the register all day, and this older lady who is pretty new, so she couldn't do much else than cleaning up the aisles. So basically, when I arrived, my boss started explaining what to do today and told me that today we can't do refunds under any circumstance since my account on the cash register is too new and I need the code that all the responsables have to access the refund settings, which I'll be getting soon. As soon as she told me that, I knew I'd have to deal with some assholes. And that's exactly what happened. This lady, we'll just call her bitch, arrives in the store like 30 minutes after it opened and asked to be refunded for some blinds. I politely explained to her the situation, and as soon as I was done talking, I see her facial expression change from bitchy to extra bitchy in the matter of a pissy sigh. Bitch then gets angry at me and tells me that I could just do it he rees and ob od and ellen, as if every feeping word I just said went right over her fat head. Fast forward after a bunch of angry troll noises. The bitch has the nerve to tell me that stores just use being short-staffed as an excuse to not do anything. After resisting the urge to sock her in the peeping mouth, not really, but I started getting really irritated with her annoying ass baby gaga goo goo tantrum. BTW, she was literally forcing me to refund her ugly ass, even though I clearly said many times that I was sorry, but I can't. I tell her to just call the manager. Bitch does exactly that. So she calls the manager and starts arguing with her. I could tell the manager was saying the same thing I did, since bitch started getting very angry, loud and disrespectful to the manager on the phone. After arguing for about 2 minutes, bitch finally decides to beep off. She asked me very rudely for the blinds back. I bent over to pick one up and handed it to her. This cunt decided they were too low and waited for me to pick the second one up and stand before taking them. Then left yelling behind her, "Feep this speepty store." A little after, the manager calls me and decides to give me the password of her account for the cash register so I don't have to deal with people like this all day. And I'm assuming she called bitch back because a little after, I see her enter the store again, walking super loudly with her high heels. After arriving at the register, bitch basically throws the blinds in the counter without saying anything. I very painfully give her a refund. Not a word was exchanged in the process. You could only hear the bubbling of my peeping blood boiling. After I'm done, she very rudely goes, "So I wasn't being so ridiculous after all, huh?" And me being done with her speep and incapable of controlling myself, I responded, "Actually, you were being extra ridiculous with all your barking in the store." She didn't respond, gave me one last look and yanked the receipt from my hands and finally left for good. Working in retail is ass. The clients are assholes. And to that fat cunt I just wanna say, go peep yourself and please never come back. Thank you for reading. Time to find a new job. Also, you manager should have been there to help in person since someone was gone. Wow. I feel so sad for you, op. You shouldn't have had to face this entitled lady by yourself. I spent over a decade in retail and customer service, and I gotta say, the entitlement has only gotten worse since COVID started. Instead of giving her number to do the return, your manager should have gone down to deal with that return. Sorry you had to deal with that. I think, when she threw the blinds, I'd have looked at them and said, "Oh, seem to have been damaged." My entitled grandma tries to keep me from leaving her home forever. Final story. Hello again, it's been a while since I last posted something. I will post this last story and a small update at the end. Well, you guys have read through my stories of my entitled grandma doing a lot of crazy entitled crap. Well, this one was when I was preparing to finally leave her home. The final entitlement. When I finally decided to leave her home, she was tried everything from letting me leave. Here's a list of them. 1. She threatened to not take me to the airport. I was prepared with a backup for that in case she tried that. 2. She threatened me to not give me the laptop she stole. I counter-threatened her that I would call the police if she didn't. 3. She took pictures of certain stuff. I had to convince my dad that I was a criminal to not take me back. She was using my Deadpool jacket costume, saying it was a criminal outfit, lol. 4. She tried to keep a lot of the things I bought or had, saying that they were hers and not mine. I shut that down quickly with the police threat. In the day that I left, she yelled at me saying that I owe her for the rent I never paid cause she didn't want it, and used that against me to keep me as a slave or free work. She would repeat saying that I was ungrateful and a brat destined to be lazy and a criminal. That I will never succeed to anything, yada yada yada. Leaving was the biggest relief I ever felt, and from that day on I cut contact fully. The reason I post this final story is because surprisingly she passed away this October due to COVID. Convenient lol, month of the scary and witches. I'm honestly not sad she's gone, but I'm not beaming with joy. Death is something I don't wish upon no one. But I sure will not miss her at all. Rest in peace, Grandma. Hope you enjoy your new position in hell. The devil was looking forward to give you a job, lol. All jokes aside, she may have been horrible, but at least she gave life to my dad, and at least I can be thankful for that. THX for reading my stories. Hope they kept you entertained. If this happened to me, I would honestly feel the same way. I don't wish death on anyone no matter what. But if someone like that does, I ain't gonna be sad either. They died. That's bad. But they were a bad person. Cancels each other out. I'm sorry you had to go through that. It's okay to not be upset she's gone, but it's good that you said you don't wish death on anyone. It means you have a heart. A COVID-19 death is not pleasant. I work in healthcare, mostly Alzheimer's and dementia patients, and it's even tougher when the person doesn't understand what's happening. I am sorry that she did pass, but yet I do have to ask this because I know that you aren't taking pleasure from her death. But I do want to ask, how's the family acted a little differently now that she's gone, or are they still the same? Only reason why I ask is because I've seen with some people react as a relief or cheering or even breaking down crying in tears because somebody that's been so cruel is gone. But I just wanted to ask, like, how you been holding up since then, if anything has changed or if it's just been the same. Also, another thing I did want to ask that's important, she didn't have anything in a while, or any bill collectors come after you